Thanks for being a part of the family here at RFD TV and Rural Radio. That's channel 147 on Sirius XM, also on the Sirius XM app. I'm John Jenkinson, and over here in the grain market, the corn market got a little bit of good news first thing this morning, and that was in the form of an overnight sale. A little over 100,000 metric ton, 101,745 to be exact, and it was corn headed for Mexico. That kind of kicked the day off, and so we've got corn on the positive side since the open. Let's go over here and find out what the latest numbers are. We were as much as 1 3/4 cents higher. Right now we're trading at that 1 3/4 cents higher. We've been as much as 2 cents higher. We've been as high as 374. Right now we're at 373. So March corn right now is up 1 3/4 at 385. And we've got the July up 1 1/2 at 398.5. November soybeans down 3 1/2 at 871 3/4. This was a market that was actually weaker on the overnight trade. Then about 20 minutes before going into the day trade, actually had a few of the contracts like January and March show some positive numbers, but then it's been negative since the open here. January beans down 3 1/2, July soybeans down 3 1/2 also. December Chicago wheat down 2 3/4, 506. July down 1 1/2 at 541 1/4. December Kansas City wheat down 1 1/4 at 503, and July wheat at 547 3/4. That's down 3/4 cent. December Minneapolis wheat up 1/2 on the front contract there at 581 on the December. That the March is down 1/4. July is also down 1/4, and December cotton now is 3 higher after being lower over a good part of this morning. 78.82, and March cotton up 3 also at 80.34. At the edge of the trading floor at the CME Group in Chicago, standing by here with us, Scott Gecas. Longleaf Trading is here. Scott, what's the big discussion on the trading floor here today?
Pretty much everything is going to be determined on tomorrow. So we have FOMC tomorrow as well as the midterm elections. Don't really see too much volume. It's really quiet going forward here. So unless if we're going to see any kind of, position trading going ahead of pretty much the midterm elections, which we haven't seen anything, the volume is pretty much light right now. So we're going to see how that's all really going to play out. We'll get a very clear indication Wednesday morning. But as far as the soybeans and the grains go, soybean market, the biggest thing that we're looking at is the short interest increasing. So traders are net short, and they added 35,000 contracts just last week. So they're expecting this China trade war not to materialize. The trade war talks going back and forth. As you've seen yesterday, you've seen or last week, I'm sorry, but we had a positive news, a lot of short covering. You've seen a big spike in soybeans, and then it started to fall off Friday afternoon. So we don't expect any positive news coming out of China before this G20 meeting later in the month, but we're going to wait and see and keep an eye on the headlines.
It'll be interesting also to see, you mentioned the elections tomorrow and how all this fits in with the world supply and demand estimate. That'll be out on Thursday. Is there already talk about that on the floor?
A little bit, not really too much. Everyone's focusing on just the FOMC as well as the midterm elections. I think the biggest surprise coming out of the USDA report on Thursday is going to be the yields in corn. Right now they're expected the yields to drop off a little bit and be around the 180 range. So we're going to see how that's going to play out on Thursday.
Okay. Scott Geek is here with us, and he's going to join us on the other side of this break. That's when we're going to talk about the livestock. That's coming up next here on the Market Day Report. Let's check on the volume of the livestock trade here and also where the numbers are headed. We'll go over here to the live cattle market here first. It's a little bit of a turnaround and a sell-off. The December live cattle right now down $1.75 at 115.33 after being as high as 117.28 earlier in the trade. February down 148. April down $1.32 at 122.40. Over in the feeder cattle, November down $2.05 at 150.45. January feeder cattle down $2.57 at 147.18, and the March feeder cattle down $2.22 at 146.03. The hog market is on the weaker side as well. We've got the December down 98, the February down 43 at 64.22, and April 70.15 down 45. Go all the way out to May. We're down 50 cents, half a dollar at 75.80. Scott Gecas there at the edge of the trading floor. He is with Longleaf Trading, and we're going to talk about the livestock this time around. You mentioned there during the break kind of a pullback here in the cattle market.
Yeah, on the technical side, that 117 was always a big level that we were watching. So we opened up a little bit above 117. As soon as we broke it, we've seen heavy selling. You've seen that liquidation coming into play. So the exports in September were off a little bit. So that could be a reasoning. Also, the cash cattle traded a very light on Friday of around 113. So it was trading around 115 earlier in the week, 116. That drop in the cash is definitely putting pressure on the markets. Now, one thing I want to point out is, with all the economic news and the economy running full steam ahead, more people working, more jobs, seasonal demand right now is starting to fall off. Now, that's also due to a lot of different things. Now, you're seeing that even with all the good economic news, you're seeing the retailers, Amazon, Macy's, all that, they're starting to reduce the buying going into the holiday season, which is odd, seeing that the country's running at full steam ahead. People are working. We expect those retail sales to be higher than expected, higher than normal. But now with all these companies coming out and saying they're reducing their estimates, you know, that could have an effect on the cattle market as well, because the cattle market was always moving forward with the expectations that more people are working, more people are spending money at the grocery store. So that could also be a little bit of a bearish catalyst in that. So we're going to keep an eye on that as well.
Okay, Scott, thank you very much. Scott Gecas here at the edge of the trading floor. We always appreciate your insight.